Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am Legion for Dying Light 1 and 2. My name is Jason, the creator of the mod, and I'm here with another summary update. So I wanted to do another quick summary, just explaining what all has happened over the last couple of days so that you guys can see how to use the latest version of the launcher. I've just released the latest version onto the Nexus, so this is out in the wild now. I do greatly appreciate everybody's support and also the feedback that's been provided to the community. The Discord community has come together and really helped iron out some of these bugs here in the first initial launch of the launcher. Thank you guys so much for that. So also with that, the community update has also released as of yesterday. It was a massive update on the back end. So as far as modding goes and as far as supporting the mods going forward, and Nexus and all the different mods that you can download to enjoy the game, I would highly recommend that you back up your save games. I have a tool on the inside the install. So when you actually install the launcher, you'll actually get the save game tool, but there is also a save game backup tool on the Nexus page. I highly recommend pulling that tool and making sure that you have good backups for all your saves, because with this latest version, the chance of corruption inside your save game is so damn high because of the amount. They pretty much changed every single game object on the back end. The inventory got a complete overhaul. It took days. It was it's like 90,000 lines of changes on a single file, to the point that I thought I was clever. I actually ended up writing some key binding software to actually just sit there and copy over the amount of data that had to get added to this thing. It was kind of preposterous. But so we've got the update out. We've continued to push forward and get that out for everybody. There was a couple of bugs when we first kicked it off, and so those have been patched. And so let me go ahead and dive in, and I'm going to add the little shortcuts as always to the timestamps here. I apologize for the long videos. There's always just so much to cover here. I want to make sure that you guys are always in the know of what's going on and why I made certain choices. So, please just bear with me. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's dive in. So with the launcher, when you download the launcher either through the Patreon site or through the Nexus, the idea here is that for the foreseeable future, I want to start being able to push out updates to you guys directly. If you guys have challenges or you run into something, I don't want you to have to go to the Nexus to pull the latest version, and then there's the compatibility issues. I wanted you guys to be able to immediately get those new updates, and the best way to do that is by using the launcher. Now, the catch of that is that you have to launch the launcher, so that's up to everybody on how often they want to use this. I would recommend hooking it up to your Steam launcher for the game. I did, when I wrote the code, I actually set it up to where when you launch the game through the application, it's actually calling to Steam to launch the game properly. Now, I don't know what that's going to do with the Epic versions of the game because I don't own the Epic version of the game. So I apologize if you're one of the Epic owners and you get something weird when you hit play Dying Light 2 or nothing happens. Please let me know what happens, and let's work together to try to figure out how I can maybe create a toggle here that says I'm a Steam user, I'm an Epic user, so that way it launches for Epic as well. I'm not sure how to do that on the back end, but I will look into it and try to support you Epic players as well. So for this, the idea is that the same as all my applications, everything is being stored and saved in this launcher.json. So if for whatever reason at any time you start to run into issues, the fastest and safest way to just go ahead and make sure that everything is getting pulled correctly and is properly updated is to go ahead and just delete this launcher.json and launch the application over again. Built inside of that, I've tried to include a lot of code that's really helped make this an offline friendly version of this data. So if you go offline for whatever reason, it is connecting to GitHub and it is pulling that information down. But if you don't have internet, or you do want to switch it to offline mode or even block its connection or whatever you want to do with this application, you can do so and it'll continue to run without any issue. all the latest news will get pulled into this little window here, all the latest modules. The exciting part about all this is, and I hope you guys realize why this is exciting to me, is that every single time I've been releasing an optional or, a pathway, it's taken a lot of time to actually set up some of these things on the back end so that I can easily support those in the future. It takes a lot of hours on the back end to go and support all these different difficulties, all these different modules, all the different languages. And so by doing this, what I've done is I've actually set it up to where it's now going to allow me to push out new modules. So every single time I come up with a fun idea, if I, like, for example, want to make my own version of Nightmare difficulty so that you could add modifiers to the game, you'll actually be able to go to modules. There will be more than 3 in the future here that you'll be able to select through. And the idea is that these can be dynamically built into the applicate or into the mod at any time. So if you want to select some, if you want to remove some, you can very easily add or remove these from the game. The same is true for events. So I've just launched the Halloween event, but in the future, with other events, we have on NASA's birthday or something, maybe we'll have a low grav mode, or we'll have different events that will come along with time. Looking forward to your guys' feedback on some of these. I didn't get as much time as I wanted to go into this Halloween update due to the large, very large update that was pushed out at the same time, and in the amount of effort to get this launcher out the door and fully tested. So hopefully here in the future, I'll have more time. But in the meantime, I did get vampires into the game, and I am super happy with how these play. So they are one of my new favorite abominations that I've created, that I actually really enjoy how they move in the game and how they kind of add to the creepiness of the world in its own way. But if you want to add or remove that at any time, if you want vampires in the game, if you want killer clowns, you can select the Halloween event and it will load into your game and you can play with that. And then when you're ready to take it off, you can just unclick it and go back to the regular game. Please let me know your thoughts and feedback on events in the future. I am always happy to bring some of that content into the main game, or into the main mod. I just want your guys' feedback to know, like, were the vampires too cheesy? That's an optional. These features are a must. I would love to have these in the game. Looking forward to hearing that from you guys. So also there's the pathways. If you guys haven't checked out the pathways yet, I did go in and fix the issues with the peacekeepers, and these guys got a little bit of a makeover and cleanup with this latest launch. And so I hope you guys enjoy this. This is my way of saying if you want to come back into the game in the future, this pathway system is going to be more ingrained into the actual game. I'm going to try to actually hook this up to where it has meaningful impact based on the selection that you choose. But for now, it's very simple in the fact that your character, if you kind of create your own mental backstory of what this means for your character, uh, for now you can just select how you start the game. But for those people who want to come back, that they're interested in all the latest updates with the game, if you want to come back and test the game out, you can always come back as the Doomsday Prepper and start out with lots of gear, skip the prologue, and just immediately start to dive in and start to kill zombies. For the language support, we still have our primary 6, so still run into challenges with the actual characters. The special characters has always been the issue. So as we go, I'm going to continue to look for ways to fix the special characters issue. I do know of a way to do it. I'm just not thrilled with how to do that. And so I'm going to turn back and look at that a little bit more and see if we can actually build that out a little bit faster in the future. That languages thing is something I've wanted to support for a long time. And as you guys know, it's taken a lot of time to upkeep the Google translation sheet. Big shout out to all the people who have contributed to that sheet. But it's taken a lot of work to just support the mod with all of these languages. I would actually love it if the game did the heavy lifting. I'm going to look into that in the future. That was one of the things I was hoping to work with Techland to try to identify. A quick status update on the EULA is that basically Techland's going to do what Techland's going to do. I'm going to continue to wait for the changes and the revisions on the EULA that still hasn't been signed. And I'm going to continue to just kind of watch what they do here in the future. There's a lot of things that can get done that do not require me to sign the EULA. I still don't agree with how they've written the language, and I'm continuing to talk to them and reach out to them as much as I can. But they basically made it clear that it's just, that they've already talked to the modding community and they don't see any reason to change it at this time, but that changes will be made in the future. And so we'll just see what they do in the future. So for those creatives out there, I still say keep a weary eye on what they choose to do in the future with this monetization strategy. Anyway, back to the mod. So once you have all of these different things selected in here and you have all the different pathways, events, languages that you want selected, you click on this summary page and it will summarize all these things for you. You should be able to run that at this point. It's going to go through and it's actually going to dynamically build this mod inside of your folder. So if we go over here to our actual root folder. So if you guys are not familiar with this, again, once you launch this, you will always set this, and I'm going to make sure this is in documentation everywhere I can. Almost all of my software will always point to this Dying Light 2 folder, this root folder, because from there I can write everything to go off and do what it needs to do without having to actually do much more heavy lifting. So essentially all I have to do is get that initial start point, and then we can move forward on doing lots of new fun features. So let me show you guys a little bit what is being done here. So what I wanted to try to do with this setup is that after you have it installed, so it's still a little janky right now. I've got a couple of loops that I haven't quite figured out, and the timing of pulling updates and making sure that everything's set up. I'm going to continue to refine myself and clean up some of that code. In the meantime, if you have any confusing things at the bottom here with the versioning, it's acting a little weird, the safest thing to do here is just kill the application and start it back up. Most of the time, if it's a little read error or something, it didn't get a version, all you have to do is start it over again and it should get it. The hope here is that once you start using it, every time you launch it, it'll get the latest information, and then, it'll be a lot better once you do it the first time. So once it gets that initial information pulled from GitHub, it's just all about the timing of how it pulls that data and gets that latest version and shows it on the screen, versus how much I'm trying to just keep the frame calls and everything as light as possible so you guys can just get into the game or install the mod. So let's go through this a little bit. So once you have this installed, what it's doing is that it's actually pointing towards the folders that you're setting up. So it's going to install the mod config and it's going to install the save game. You can access those by clicking these buttons down here at the bottom. So if you don't want to go into your root folder, you can actually just click that mod config button down there at the bottom and it'll bring that up. That does remind me that I also want to set this up to where you can also have the shortcut to this folder as well. I apologize that I didn't add that from the get-go. I meant to do that and that one fell by the wayside, but same with the mod config, it's always going to ask, where this initial folder is or the root folder is for Dying Light. Once you set that up for the first time, you'll never have to do that again. So once it's been set up, so for example with the mod config, we had to do that for the first time, but then the next time you run it, it should immediately have all of your settings and everything ready to go so that you're not having to do that again in the future. It'll even, remember how you sized it and where you put it on the screen and a couple other things that I was exploring while I was working on this. So it's going to continue to load up those configs and pull everything in. I did notice that it is getting this configs does not exist directory issue. And so I'm going to have to take a look at why these configs are not getting set or why they're not getting loaded in. So something I'll continue to look at. It's a timing thing with getting all of these different tools. Eventually, the goal here is to bring the mod config and everything into the launcher. So the save game tool and the mod config all central to the launcher. I started with the mod config as a separate application, but I am looking forward to bringing that in so that it's a one-stop shop for everything. But for now, I'm going to have to look into see why these configs are not being pulled in, and that's not a problem. I'll put out an update that will fix that issue. But kind of the main focus here is that it should be able to immediately pull these updates. So anytime I push out an update on this side, you're going to get a button in the top left here that's going to say update I Am Legion Reborn. And as soon as that happens, you can press the button, and this requires that you've installed the mod already. So part of that is what I'm asking the community to do is please go ahead and uninstall the mod, go ahead and get the launcher, and once you've got that set up, go ahead and use this selection panel to go ahead and install the mod with everything that you would like to use. Because once you've set that up, it's going to store that information, and for every future update, it'll use that selection and automatically install the mod update. So if you see that button up there, it's just going to let you know there's an update. You press update the game, that button will disappear, and you can hit play Dying Light 2, you're set, you're good to go. Additionally, with where it's putting this information into the folder, so basically, like I mentioned, it's dynamically building the different files that are going inside this folder. So as we go in here and we select the different modules here, go ahead and select a few of the different ones, and we hit install. It's going in here and building out that pack file for you at runtime. And so once everything has been set up and you have all your settings how you like it, if you would like to switch back to vanilla Dying Light 2 and you don't want to play the mod, or you want to play with friends on multiplayer without the mod is incredibly multiplayer friendly. If you want to switch to vanilla for any reason, you can click on this I Am Legion Reborn button up in the top left, and that's going to switch the mod, or it's going to switch everything back to vanilla Dying Light 2. And so once it does that, it'll actually store all of the mod's files inside of a folder and actually clear out your directory. I did notice that the Patreon content is not currently hooked up to that system, and so I will have to update the code to make sure that the Patreon content is also moved as well. But the Patreon content will eventually be coming into the launcher. So the goal here is that I'm going to try to set up a key system to where if you're registered on the Patreon, you can just plug a key in, and once you plug a key into the launcher, it will actually unlock those features on the launcher itself so that you get immediate access to those different features, and then you can actually just install all of that content here on the launcher itself, so you're no longer having to go back to the Patreon page. Obviously, I'm always going to want to share kind of ongoing efforts and what I'm working on in there, but if you have any questions, you can always jump over there and see what I'm working on. But I am going to try to bring as much as I can into the launcher so you can keep it central. So you can actually just press this button again and it'll immediately restore the mod. It is moving some files around in the back end, but this should allow you to very quickly switch between the two and then play the game how you want to play the game. And that's always been the focus, is allowing you guys to move as quickly as you would like to be able to use the mod or not use the mod. I am still researching a little bit into the save game corruption and how a mod could be cleaned, or a save game could be cleaned so that you can continue to use that mod or save. I apologize. You can use that save after introducing the mod content to it. I've not found a great way to do this, especially with some of the settings that you may be setting inside the mod config. There might be some things in there that once they've been set, such as the inventory size, you can't go back to the standard save game without worrying about corruption in the future. It's one of those things that we'll continue to test, and it's something I'm continuing to look at. Happy to let you guys know when I have a solution for that. And with these updates, I will be continuing to push forward on the save game tool along with the mod config and getting those cleaned up and having those updates pushed out to you guys at a much faster pace. So once you have everything set up, you should be able to go ahead and launch into the game. As always, you should see the version down here in the bottom left, and once you launch the game, you should also see that version on the banner as soon as you load in. So I'll go ahead and load the game, let that load up, and you guys will see that's in the bottom left as always. But there should be a direct correlation between the versions, because the launcher is also reading the data that the game is reading, and so I'm using the same systems now to keep everything on the same page as far as the versioning practices go. While that's loading, I will mention that I've actually started writing a couple of different applications that I'm hoping will help here in the future. I have started on a merge tool for bringing in updates as they come down, but also with the just with the ability to push out updates for you guys. I'm also trying to see how I can quickly set things up so that it's way less time, way less commitment to go and do some of these things that I'm having to do for you guys to get this stuff out. And so stay tuned. I got lots of things coming in here in the future. Happy to continue to design for you guys. It's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate the support. I'm going to turn back to looking over the questions on the Discord channel. Continue to support people as this latest update has come out. Lots of great things coming down the road for the mod and for the main game. Looking forward to getting your guys' feedback. Welcome back if you're coming back to the mod, and I look forward to talking and catching up with you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'll catch you guys next time. Happy gaming.